Good evening, Advanced Math. Still going to work on simplifying expressions a bit more today, and we're going to do some more complicated cases today than we have done. Hopefully they won't be too bad, but definitely some things that can pop up and be a little tricky that I want you to know about. So go ahead and make this the title on your next page in your math notebook. After you've done that, give me your total concentration and follow with me. So just to remind you real fast what we've done so far, we've simplified expressions with the commutative property. And the commutative property tells me I can, let me add the opposite first, plus negative 5 plus 2x. And the commutative property let me just move like terms near each other. So instead of adding them in that order, I could add them in this order. And then I could take my like terms and combine those to simplify my expression from that to that. And we also did some with the distributive property, remembering if I've got a product of a sum, I know that doesn't look like a sum because there's no adding, but remember, we add the opposite, plus negative 10. That's really the same as the product of the outside number in the first term and the second term. Negative 2 times negative 10 is 20. So I can simplify this expression down to that. Okay, so let me show you a few things that may be a little trickier that you could see. The first one is you may not always have the same variable. So when I've drawn these in the past, remember we had blocks that were like 1 by 1, and we called those ones. And then we had blocks that were like 1 tall by x, and their area was 1 times x is x. And then we also had blocks that were x tall and x wide, and their area was x times x is x squared. So what you need to imagine today is I still have all those blocks, but I've got some other ones too if you want to visualize it. The key here is that like terms have to be the same variable. I'm not going to end up combining the b's and the a's, or even the ab's. I'm only going to combine a's with a's, b's with b's, and ab's are going to be by themselves. So now you've got to imagine like I've got number blocks. So I've got my 1 by 1. I've got a blocks, so something that's 1 by some unknown length a. 1 by a is a. B's, so it's 1 tall and it's an unknown length, but it's not the same as a. 1 times b is b. And then I've got a block that is a in one direction and b in the other direction. So you got to imagine something kind of like this. It's a by b. So it's an a times b is its area. I don't know what it is, but it's not this. I don't care. It's just not the same as this or this. So instead of just having those, the blocks you're used to having, I've got a couple new, kind of a different situation here. 2 different variables plus the product of the 2 variables. And that, that's just going to remind me to only combine what can go together. So looking at all this, I've got A blocks here, B blocks here, B blocks here, some of these AB blocks here, and the 4. So let me first add the opposite, because that's always going to make my life easier. 2A plus 3B, here's a subtraction, plus negative 2AB, plus negative 5A, plus negative 2B, plus 4. And so what I'm really looking at now is I'm going to combine like terms, just like I always would. I've just got to remember that A's are different from B's, A's are different from AB's, and B's are different from AB's. So all these are different blocks. So really what I've got when I look at it is I've got some of these A blocks, A and A, I've got some of these B blocks that are different from the A blocks, B and B. I've got some of these A times B blocks that are different from the other ones. Oops, I need a new color. And I've got some of these 1 blocks that are different from everything. And so when I use my commutative property here, I'm just going to reorder them so that things that go together are together. So I'm going to do my A's. Got it. Got it. My B's. Got it. Got it. My AB's. Got it. And my 4. And now I can combine. These are like terms. These are like terms. No like terms for that. No like terms for that. So 2a plus negative 5a is going to be negative 3a plus 3b plus negative 2b is just 1b. I can just write b. I don't have to write the 1. I can write the 1. Plus negative 2ab plus 4. So after I rearrange and combine, I end up combining my a's, combining my b's, and I've got a simpler expression. Okay? Let me show you one other tricky situation you might run into, and that's that sometimes there's fractions in here. The fractions don't change what we do. They just make it harder to see it, because it's harder to end up seeing half a group of this, or 3/4 of a group of this. So let me show you how that'll pan out. First I'm going to add the opposite, so 1/2 negative 2k plus 5 plus negative 3/4 times negative 2k plus negative 4. So I'm going to treat this just like I would have before. So if this was just like a 5 out here, it would be 5 groups of this plus this. So I'd do 5 times this term, and I'd do 5 times this term. Since it's a fraction, that's totally fine. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to do it with a fraction. So 1/2 times negative 2k, 1/2 times negative 2 is negative 1. 1/2 times 5 is, let's see, 5/2. Plus, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. Negative 3/4 times negative 2 is, let's see, that's negative times negative 6/4, or 3/2. And negative 3/4 times negative 4 is positive 12/4. Let me not write that yet. 12/4, which is 6/2, right? Or 3. And I noticed I forgot my k here, sorry. 3/4 times negative 2, that's my coefficient, but I have to have my k. And now I can just rearrange and combine like terms. I can combine these. Negative 1k plus 1.5k is going to be 1/2 k. And then 2.5 plus 3 is going to be 5.5. Alright, so I just don't want you to worry. The main thing here is the distributive property. Just don't worry if it's a fraction. Okay? Alright, open your math notebook and let's do one of each together. So first thing I want you to do here is draw what your different blocks would look like. You're going to have a 1 by 1 block, which is a 1. I've got an x and a y here. So imagine you also have a 1 by some unknown length x. 1 by x is x. You also have a 1 by some other different than x unknown length called y. 1 by y is y. And then you have a block that's x by y, so it's something like this, x in one direction and y in the other. And that's an xy. And the main thing to know is that these are all different. That when you combine like terms, you're only going to combine x's with x, y's with y's, and xy's with xy's. So I'm going to even take my highlighter. Let me go add my opposites here. Always do that first. 6xy plus 3 plus negative 2y plus negative 8 plus 2xy plus negative x plus 5. And then my goal here is really just to make sure I combine only like terms. Like my xy's are going to go with my xy's, this kind of block. My 1's are going to go with my 1's, this kind of block. My y's are going to go, I don't have any other y's, that kind of block. And my x's by themselves are going to go with other x's by themselves. I don't have any of those either, and I missed a 1. So these are my like terms, my xy's, my x's, my y's, and my, so I have 4 different things, and I'm going to have 4 different after I combine. So I can combine my xy's. I have 6 xy's over here, 2 xy's over here, so when I'm all done, after I use the commutative property, I'll have 8. I've got 3, and 5 is 8, and negative 8 is 0. That's nice, because I don't even have to write plus 0. I can, but there's no real point in adding 0, because it doesn't change anything. I've got negative 2y, and I've got negative x. Nothing to combine on those because they're by themselves. They're the only type of term like that. And if you want to put the plus 0 from the numbers on the end, you can, or not, that's optional. Okay, one more. Let's do this one. 3x minus 7 minus 2/3 times 9x minus 6. So here we've got a distributive property and with a fraction, and I don't want that to scare you too badly. So first things first, add the opposite, plus negative 7 plus negative 2/3 times 9x plus negative 6. And I'm going to do my distributive property first. So I'm going to I have 2/3 of a group of this, 2/3 of a group of 9x and negative 6. So negative 2/3 times 9 is negative 18/3. And that has my x. That's how many x's I have, negative 8. Oh, I can make that. That's just negative 6, right? That's going to be neater to write. So I have negative 6x, and then negative 2/3 times negative 6 is positive 12/3, which is 4. So after my distributive property, I have that plus negative 7 plus 3x. And now I obviously have some like terms I can combine, x's and numbers, to get negative 3x and negative 3. All right. So I think those are pretty tricky, guys. Please, please, please go back and watch this, or at least some of these again, if you feel uncomfortable. The more times you see this, hopefully the more comfortable you'll get. We will practice on the you-dos when I see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.